Peel me a grape, crush me some ice, skin me a peach, save the fuzz for my pillow. Talk to me nice, talk to me nice, you've got to whine me and dine me. Don't try to fool me, bejewel me, amuse me or lose me. I'm getting hungry. Peel me a grape.
Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice. It is May 23rd, 2018. And I am going live with Lotus today because we have a announcement and we have a post in the Porthole to Justice and the Anti-Human Trafficking NWO Freedom Fighters page. Hi, good morning. I was just starting to tell everybody. Okay?
Yes.
So you have filed You've filed this path to freedom from fraudulent fiefdom, know the facts, know the law, how the corporate governance is not immune. So we just published this to the Porthole to Justice and to the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force NWO Freedom Fighters page. You can read it there.
And this should be used by attorneys and judges and everyone alike, because here's the deal. Most people in our government do not understand what has been withheld from us through acts of fraud and constructive fraud and conspiracy to undermine our republic. Now, there are some judges that are culpable and are actively participating. If you're a judge that has had the law brought to you and you still hold true to your union and allow child trafficking and human trafficking, then you're culpable in treason and sedition at that point. But there's a lot of people who are attorneys that sit and are just boggled by how the family law court works, quote-unquote court. It's a salvo court, it's a salvage court. They're stealing our kids as vessels, stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And don't understand. Okay, and I've even had attorneys. I remember the first time I laid the title of nobility 13th Amendment in a case. I used it in my case, and this was before it was even placed in the District of Columbia. I placed it first within the municipal court case that I was brought forth in and put in prison for a year. That is a non-suit, okay? Mm-hmm. And I brought it and put it on I literally served it to the prosecutor. I had it stamped by the clerk, and there was an attorney sitting next to him at his own desk. Meaning, you have to understand how conspiratorial the whole concept of courts are. There's another attorney sitting at the desk of the prosecutor's side, just having a combo on his desk, right? While we're having a court hearing, right? And he's reading the pleading, which is about an inch and a half thick, because I include the documentation of the passage, the state documents that prove the passage of the TONA prior to the War of 1812 within the document. I didn't want him to get off the page, right? Mm-hmm. He's flipping through, and he's like, oh my gosh, they told us it never passed. They've lied to us. This is a high-end attorney in the county who is godsmacked. Reading, he walks into court thinking he's just going to have a hearing for one of his guys, sits down to the desk to talk to his cohort, his friend, his attorney, the prosecuting attorney for the county, and he ends up picking my pleading up. I just served him because I come with a lot of airs when I walk in a room, right? He says, "Let me read what this Lotus is putting in here," right? And his face just drains of color. Mm-hmm. Because what it's exposing is a lot of attorneys are merely criminals in their acts. Mm-hmm. And they're definitely not immune. See, what they've set up is they set it up, well, we can do whatever we want to you as the judiciary, and you can't ever do nothing to us and our agents, and you can't do nothing to our corporate states. Wrong. That's what the second pillar of law cures. It cures that since you are a corporate government, and you are corporate states of X, which are merely public franchises state franchises operating in commerce of a public nature, engaged in contract with the federal corporation, the United States, you waived your foreign state immunity. The only states that are immune as foreign states are the territorial state Ohio, the territorial state Oklahoma. Well, which ones are states? Truly states. But even the territories that are not truly, quote, de jure states, the states are immune from attachment. See, people are misunderstanding foreign state immunity because you've been having a whole bunch of bar union members tell you what immunity is. Well, let's put it this way. If the corporate state, Georgia, who's in contract with the corporate United States to access Title IV funding through probate actions against children who never waived their foreign state status and agreed to be subject to the laws of the United States, they are officially, if they move those children and seize them proper, outside the statutes especially, but if they're outside the statutes and law, that's just merely kidnapping. It's no different than if the United States went and stole a baby from Africa. It's no different than if the United States went and stole a baby from Russia and decided it was going to do what it wanted to do with that baby. The states are foreign to us in their de jure capacity. That is established under the Constitution. The corporate estates are foreign to us unless we willfully waive our foreign state status, which no child has under 1332 or Title 28, 1605. Mm-hmm. So the Rucker-Feldman Doctrine, the Rucker-Feldman Doctrine was founded upon the principle that if a court adjudicates a case between, let's say, Xerox, I think the case is Saudi Arabia and ExxonMobil, which is what the current Rucker-Feldman Doctrine is been cured upon, then if by the ruling, one of the litigants is damaged by the ruling, not challenging the lawfulness of the ruling or the legality of the ruling or whether the ruling complies with the statutes. That's not what the case was brought about. They're just saying, well, your ruling has damaged us. And they're like, too bad. You came to our jurisdiction. You agreed to be subrogated within our private jurisdictional courts. You can't affirm damages by what we bring forth in arbitration because that's what they are. They're all arbitrage. Okay? Mm-hmm. However, your child, when they are transacted as a commodity, your child never waived foreign state status willfully. The attorneys automatically stole the child's foreign state immunity when it put their footprint on a bond. See, you can't convey children as properties of states who have foreign state immunity. Every claim where the federal government under Title IV has trafficked a child is a non-suit under the law because those states never had rights to seize those children and take them outside of the common law because they didn't have jurisdiction over those children except by the instruments the states themselves created. So let's think about the RICO here. Your child is born in the territory California. The state of California, with its title ability holders, the esquires and the doctors, conspire to put your child's footprint on an instrument of negotiation that will ultimately be used to create their Susticate trust account, which is given a Social Security number. It is a securitized instrument that is wrapped in bonds of the United States Treasury. The states then turn around through contracts with the United States Corporation that sold those bonds to fund its operation through the United States Treasury and has conveyed through statutes the ability of the state of California to seize your child. Nowhere in that, and when they seize that child, supposedly in compliance with the statutes, those lower courts affect securitized instruments in judicial bonds and gain access to the Susticate trust the states themselves created by fraudulent contract with a child. Where in the contract did the child waive their foreign state immunity and agree to be a bondservant to the constructs of the states of men operating in constructive fraud? They didn't. By their own statutes, these children are not subject to their own laws. because they never waived their foreign state status.
Mm-hmm.
So you have states seizing foreign state children. We are of a foreign state to these corporate estates, outside the statutes, outside the law, and trafficking them. What would you call that? I know what international law calls it. It's called child kidnapping, and it's called human trafficking. So this pleading establishes that the fact that we have brought our son's case, now they're trying, and by the mandate of the law, these courts should have delivered these to the Supreme Court. We were made to file a motion.
According to the law, there is no statutes of limitations on fraud, kidnapping, or murder.
None whatsoever. Constructive fraud and murder. And I think actually even kidnapping, I don't think that there's a crime, a statute on that.
No, I don't think so. Kidnapping, fraud, and murder.
So so if they want to play the game where they're going to make a young woman who has 30% hearing in one ear and is qualified under the ADA, who's been oppressed upon by the local corruption all of her life, denied the ability. You have to remember, Ray was not allowed to attend high school. She was kicked out of high school because she tried to emancipate herself through the same systems they took her children through, or conveyed them to grandparents, whatever. Yes, and those people, by the way, are still working in this county CPS, by the way. She tried to emancipate herself at 14 because of the violence she was being subjected to in her family. And you know what the state did? They kicked her out of high school and denied her emancipation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So then they push her into these fallen tracks, right? She goes, after she quits high school, she works for 3 years. She goes and decides she's going to work, right? Works 3 years straight for the same employer. Good person here.
Lotus, okay, go ahead.
They're saying that this person has to hire an attorney and pay millions of dollars or beg an attorney to do it for her so they can abrogate the claim away and walk her cause of action where her child was clearly kidnapped outside the statutes in a non-suit that is not sustainable upon challenge all the way to the Supreme Court by the actions and mandates of these corrupt judiciary. If that's not a racket to prevent claims against kidnapping by agents of the state, I don't know what is. So if they're going to maintain this racket, I'll just crash it because I'm going to call it for what it is. And it's criminal.
Just for the sake of, the argument, can you explain to the audience why slavery and human trafficking was abolished in 150 years ago? 150 years ago, why are we still having to fight this issue?
Look, here's the miseducation of the world, of everyone in this realm. Since Christ, the monarchs, the true sovereigns are people who rise to power within their communities because they are learned in the law, they are learned in military prowess, they protect the instruments of the local people. That's a real big king. You also have fake kings who are appointed by popes. This is when you started having the anti-popes under Martin Luther and stuff. You have to research your history of who you're governed by. So the monarchs that I came from in my blood lineage, as well as a lot of Americans who came here after the New World was found, which means not under or subject to the law of the known world under the Pope, the second sons and daughters abdicated, some of them even the rightful heirs to thrones, abdicated their heritage and their estates that were under basically war, being warred upon by the Pope to seize the lands of all the people under vassaldom and feudalism, and they came here. And they established a law where everybody was a king or a queen from the day they are incarnated into this realm and are not subject to the laws of England or the Pope or Caesar or whoever else claims to be the vicar for our advocate in our God, Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. We are separate. So it has been a long march to acquire freedom. Whenever when they did the Magna Carta, that king was an enlightened man. And guess what? All the other ruling monarchs who wanted to keep control over the wealth that they acquired through no means other than just in tyrannizing and despotism and beating people down with guns and, swords. It starts, right? Swords and shields, guns, now nuclear bombs. Now it's just merely offsets and adjustments and banking coups and wars against Babylonian slave trade of our children. The game is the same. We are literally living in a period where we are curing the trust of Jesus, where we are proving his assertions in his trial. You are not our kings. You are not our queens. You do not tell us what we can do upon our lands, as long as we are not harming anybody, not disturbing the public peace, and not disturbing the public trust. And we certainly do not need to tithe, nor can be forced to tithe your corrupt, repugnant states of men that affect war upon the woman and the child. When children and women are your weapons of war, you need to be obliterated and cleansed from this realm. I don't care if you're a man, woman, child, state, or whatever.
And, something came to mind. Okay, Lotus, we have 501c3 churches where I've profiled a lot of stories where this mindset and culture is perpetuated in the church.
Right, but the beauty of that. Okay, here's the beauty of what you just mentioned. There's a lot of churches that fought being brought into taxation and stuff because they said, we're faith-based. And the government said, oh, no, you elected to be a 501c3. Guess what? States of Ohio and Oklahoma and et al., the states of X, as I established in my writ I put in D.C. way back in 2014, all those states of X, guess what? You're not immune either any more than the churches were, because you chose to be in contract and you chose to operate in commerce within the United States. They are now, by curing the pillar that the very attorneys brought forth, okay, which they did their job. The good attorneys have done their job. They've hidden amongst themselves. There are good attorneys that have done right and put the law there for us to use. Mm-hmm. They needed an attorney to bring the cause of action, a non-attorney with the proper standing, the proper law, and the proper cause. Well, Clay's cause, with me as his executor de son tort, is that cause. Mm-hmm. The states, corporate states, the corporate courts, and the corporate agents operating as instruments of statute that operate and put their seals and use the funds under the full faith and credit of the American people will be brought subject to the federal common law, because they operate in commerce and have no immunity. Mm-hmm. And if they do it in a repugnant fashion, in 100% opposition to the statutes and law, or in conspiratorial fashion in concert to traffic children, they're going to hang. They are going to hang. That is the central maxim of our law. Children are not the properties of states. Mm-hmm. That's why in the Declaration of Independence it says...
So Lotus,
from our creation...
You filed this, or you sent this to the clerks, certified mail.
Absolutely.
And did you receive a copy back, stamped, filed?
No, we have not. We have not received that yet. I have not checked the mail for today. I do know that it is not on the docket. The dock, as I shall say.
And you filed it within the 20-day... time period.
Well, yeah, it's definitely within tolling. Uh-huh. Well, if it's within tolling, they should clerk it and say not within tolling. There have to be orders. Now, mind you,
did you even receive a stamped copy? Is my question.
No. I haven't checked the mail yet today, but no, we haven't, and it's not. We don't have a stamped copy as of today. I have yet to check the post today. We have to go to post. Uh-huh. I do not reside in a thing, so I have a P.O. box, a care of post office box. Uh-huh. So we have to go check our post office box where our things reside and see if they have received mail. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well,
I am specific. My wife is laughing at me at my particularity of language. My particularity of how I parse the law in the language that they use is exactly...
It's called legalese.
It's called I hear the word of the Magi and know exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is why I know how to argue that I am not subject to the Magi's civil form, because I know the Magi is not my Elohim. And that's been firmly established by the law of the land. I am made of, and which I incarnate now, willfully by title of occupancy that God gave me. See, they can't put me under the jurisdiction ever. And all that they should attempt to oppress upon me, I can argue against such fictio. That's the key word here, folks. In fictio, I-N space F-I-C-T-I-O. It is an assumption or a supposition of, it doesn't even say law, statute, I don't think. I think it's just an assumption and a supposition in which a defendant may not overcome. So that in itself tells you a fictio is a paradox. In law, in fictio is in philosophy a paradox. So in fictio, you are brought forth being judged in a manner in which the suppositions and the assumptions of why you are brought forth prevent you from not being found guilty. That's an in fictio. The in fictio in statutes, which is in the example, if you actually read the definition and search in fictio, it gives you an example, because you're like, what are they talking about? It says, for example. It doesn't even say for example. I think it says i.e. at all. In Roman law, when the defendant is presumed to be a citizen of Rome. So if you're brought before Rome, Rome always wins. Rome always wins, because under the precepts of the discovery doctrine of Rome, which is now being affected through the Holy Roman Empire, which converted into the Roman Catholic Church, which issued an edict of the doctrine of discovery under a papal bull, which is merely a theocratic, militaristic empire order from a newly named Caesar, emperor in the Vicar of Christ, who killed Christ, by the way, whose empire killed Christ, is saying, go about the world and take what you declare not to be of Christendom and do it for your own personal gain, but do it in the name of Christendom. So basically, go about the world and be savages in the name of Christ. Okay, this is the vicar who's supposed to determine where my son goes, where my son's soul goes, after he's judged for his crimes against his creator upon his.
I think it's been like, how long has it been since we've just been trying to get proof of life, Lotus?
I think since he was stolen, the day of June 2015, June 5th, I think, 2015. He has not been seen. We have had people who took a picture of him in a McDonald's. We have people who've seen him. And apparently in that case, this is really a repugnant statement. He was seen something like 8 months in a McDonald's with whoever his caretaker was and a bunch of other stolen kids, apparently, because if he's been kidnapped, that means everybody in that she was taking care of it is kidnapped. It should be the presumption of law. If he's kidnapped and he's with them, they're all kidnapped. So a friend of the family sees this kid. She's with his actual cousins. His cousins run over to say hello to their cousin Clay. And the woman who is in custody of him, that apparently the feds refused to say he's in custody of, says, get away from him. You cannot speak to him. They're like, he's our cousin. We know him. She's saying this to other children that are 6 and 7 and 8. See, people don't understand. The reason why this is the most heinous crime of all, do you understand? People need to conceive how many children in a family as large as Ray's, as stretched out, there's over 2,000 people that are like immediate cousins to Ray in this county. Do you know how many other children they torted by stealing their cousin that they thought of as a brother from? They are torting our societies with one dude and a bunch of liars and a sweep of a pen And they are doing it with children that by international law do not have jurisdiction to touch.
On epidemic levels.
Under the common law, they are only, these are clearly established, and this is in Clay's habeas, which they have dismissed.
Just like police officers, social workers have quotas. Every year they have to increase.
Here's the deal, though.
Increase their caseloads or in order to meet the requirements to qualify for the federal incentives.
Yeah, but there's a huge distinction between the two. A cop, because you went and contracted with the state of Ohio willfully to get a license, when you're under licensure, by their presumption, you're 100% in commerce.
I know. I'm just using it as an example.
I know, but I want to show a distinction because there's a distinction here. The distinction is, even if you didn't understand that you were waiving your foreign state status by operating in commerce within the laws of the United States or within the territories of the United States, when you went and got that driver's license, you agreed to be subject to the jurisdiction of the state in its admiralty jurisdiction over the highwaves and their cruisers with police power pirates in them to comply with things. Children never did that. Children are brought into this realm free, fee simple, exempt from detenue, immune from detenue. And you have our union members placing those children into commoditized instruments that are traded as securities for military theocratic states. That is your international government as you know it, by its very definition in law and banking. You are feeding your children into Moloch, literally, okay? And these people are doing this. So adults are being led astray by not understanding what is in commerce and what is not. But here's the deal. No one's ever defined it because no one from the law has brought the hammer as to when this stops and when jurisdiction begins and ends. Well, they automatically presume.
That's my point. I have to wrap it up soon in a few minutes, but that's my point. If 150 years ago, we already decided to abolish slavery, why are we still having this argument? Case in point.
Because states have never been subjected to the second pillar of our common law, which perfects a Ouroboros. Okay? It's perfected. It feeds because all crimes against humanity are done for someone else's lucre, right? That's the presumption of the discovery doctrine. Do it for your own benefit and gain. Okay, people who do stuff for benefit and gain and get some pride out of that, they're going to willfully subject themselves to the laws of commerce. Well, guess who owns those laws of commerce and whose second pillar brought those laws of commerce forth, which feed them right back into our law to be eaten for their immorality. The people who willfully, in instrument state, choose of their own free actions to not abide by the seats they take. Those are the most repugnant forms. Those are the coups. Those are people that are put.
Do you want to make this official public announcement of your filing?
Yeah, that's what I just did on Facebook. That's what this note is. Okay. This is how they're doing it. If they're not going to follow statutes, then the whole thing needs torn down. Otherwise, all we need done, this is in Clay's habeas. It's called diversified claims. These are diversified claims. Diversified claims under the federal statutes and constructs of established positive law and federal and case law is that in diversified claims, when state statutes fail, federal common law rules the argument. Federal common law. It's already there. They have cured the pillar. We just need to make sure we cure it before what they're trying to do is turn the law over so you forget what's been put. That's what the obfuscation of the TONA was. But because usually these conspiracies have time to mature because they plan over hundreds of years. Well, they couldn't plan fast enough for our intellect. They couldn't plan fast enough by people born under freedom.
And you know, my approach to substantiating this was never the approach of a conspiracy. The data and the evidence in the porthole to justice speaks for itself, you know, and there are sources posted there. I need to make a quick announcement. Because I get a lot of postings to the Porthole to Justice. I'm not trying to censor anyone. If you have a platform in the network and it pertains to the subject matter, yes, I will publish it. If you're sending me court documents or screenshots from Messenger, no, I will not post that content, and I will not share other radio shows. I have other groups that are designed to socialize other radio shows. I reserve the Porthole to Justice blog specifically for this subject.
Right. Well, it's of your design. Yeah. First off.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, I'm painting a picture. I'm painting a picture.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and there's a specific, intention. So. I want to keep it on point. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree. I mean, well, first off, I think we had this issue, and I'll make this disclaimer for anybody. No one is compelled by the law to walk your law, okay? Or to share in your machinations of what you think law is. You create and we manifest this reality by walking our own belief systems and constructs in the way we perceive them. And that is the only law that is to be recognized under the fourth crown. It is personal witness of testimonies of persecutions. There's a lot of people that send me a lot of stuff looking for me to say, you're right, you're good, you're valid, your claim is good, looking for what's affirmation. Mm-hmm. I am not a priest, okay? In our law, you go to goddess for your affirmations, not to other men and women. If you have been wronged, and people share it with you or I, like you and I, we get things like this all the time, don't we, Amelia?
Yeah.
And we jump on your bandwagon and put it on our pages and couch your banner. It's because me personally, I'm touting the banner of everybody. And I take note of particularities, and I wanted to tell those people, I've been telling everybody, write an affidavit. If you're not getting help in the systems of the courts and government, and you truly feel that you have been wrong in any way when it pertains to your child being taken, that you feel like people are against you, lying about you, get your mind together and get your heart together and write it down.
Yeah, and there's outlines, there's templates. Yeah, there's templates and there's outlines. Blah. There's templates and outlines posted to the Porthole to Justice that can assist you with creating and building your timeline. Also, if you want to send, you want me to consider your subject matter, you can email me at portholetojustice@yahoo.com. Okay, go ahead.
No, I know, and I'm not advocating in any type of form in any way, but and I both know we're working on some very particular forms. Once I approach that administrative office, I will develop forms for them. Okay, mm-hmm. So because this is an administrative connectedness to each of the agencies of state for them to do their job, there are far more balances of power oppressed upon a judiciary that writes bonds off its aversion that in its adjudications that it is complying with statutes, because that's what people have to understand. Judicial bonds, if affirmed, are not surrendered. Because if I bring a bond, if I'm being sued and pursuant to the law of what we're really dealing in commerce, but we're in offsets and adjustments, and you don't even know that you have things on the ledger that are yours. That's mm-hmm. the point here. If you're being sued by this bankruptcy form in salvo for the vessel of your soul that you're a heretic of, which is basically what they're saying, folks, since you've been born, and that we are Christian and you are not, and we are going to take you for our lucre. Get it? That's where we're still at, mm-hmm. as a instrument of Pope and his agents and trusteeship. If you say that, that's criminal. You have to be able to bring this forward in your own words. Suri juris. The best law is the words you form. And what you say are wrongs against you. Mm-hmm. From your perspective. It doesn't even have to do these citations.
I want to add something else really quick, because maybe you can expand on this. Don't post any sensitive case file information to Facebook or the internet, folks. If you have an open case, I do not suggest.
You can be torn with tools and shills by that. You know, I'm very conscientious of what I put online, because I know, and I'm even conscientious of when I say things, even on my phone, because I know I'm being so tapped as to what we're going to do and when. I mean, we don't even speak about when we're going to be traveling on the phone or on it. But, you know, we don't, because it's that dangerous. It's dangerous for me to travel. I'm subject to being murdered, assassinated, really, because the tort dies with the man. Well, we don't know where Clay is. They can't get rid of this tort. When they put me in prison, and I found out and figured out the whole totality of their criminal corruptions by walking the path.
Haven't you filed it in for a form to trust, so it doesn't die with you if you die?
No, yeah, my claim is in a trust. Well, Clay's is for sure, because, okay, here's the situation. The tort dies with the man. Okay, the key point of producing life is if the tort resulted in his death, okay, if they keep producing, this is the law. If he's alive, the case goes forward, so they can't give him. See, well, we can't give him for that. If they fail, if we prove him, we ever prove them to have killed him, murdered him in the custody, because that's what it would be, then you would have a mandatory death sentence for everybody whose hands touched this case and perpetuated his kidnapping by the law, by statute. Kidnapping that results in the death of a child is a mandatory death sentence if you are an agent of state, because it's state institutionalized human trafficking that ended in the death of a child. See, people don't even understand what Hillary is really going to get hung for. If you have people, before she was even elected, in the FBI putting out stuff that they're trafficking babies through the Clinton Foundation, do you know how many people are going to hang? Thousands. A lot of attorneys. A lot. This is not going to, I mean, this is dirty, folks. This is going to be the most repugnant time that human history will remember, is when we actually put people to death for being in as agents of states and willfully, knowingly contriving, creating, hiding, obfuscating, child trafficking, baby trafficking, human trafficking, pedophilia, murder of babies and cult within systems of state. That's because that's what happens when you're being ruled by a theocratic cult of nihilists
that are staging shootings on our children in our schools.
And have contrived your false reality to
don't bat an eye at hurting our children. And
when my mom,
children using these staged shootings to disarm us, because when people actually wake up and realize these crimes, they're going to be outraged.
And not only that, and in itself satisfying and testifying to prophesize instruments of the religion, quote, that the orthodox followers of a prophet and his followers who created the testimony of Christ and gave prophecy even before his birth. I mean, it's really divine in its nature. I'm sure we've done it not perfectly before. Well, the reason why I tell people what I tell people is because if I die tomorrow, everything I have written in these cases is anybody could pick up and walk for Clay, who is there to speak for all children. I'm not just carrying this case just for Clay. It's under all free people of the land. It's under his kin and kith. That means his community. That's the people, the American people. We are being totalitarian occupied in hidden baby trafficking, where our state is literally propping itself up because it really is. What you put forth is your best effort, right? The best effort has cured the pillars. Let's just put the criminals into the machine they helped build and agreed to be a party to and an agent of, and let it eat them as reprobates. And we shall seize the instruments and cure them by the law. It's all about the man and the woe. Okay? And they're eating children. So, machine's perfect. And if applied to everybody, what this is supposed to, if you think about this, a mother and a father to produce an offspring. If it's a divine instrument, then we can do no wrong and shall always provide posterity and prosperity for our children, because we will hold them with no fee upon their birth, their incarnation. We are not allowed to put our children into our debts. So, no more. From the day that I say this happened and I can prove I put into the mail of a postal person, that stopped being a lawful commodity. They can no longer put our children in fiefdom. They're done. If they do, it is a contrived act of treason and sedition and willful human trafficking. I have told them who they are. I have told them how to cure it. I have told them the laws they are breaking, and I have noticed the bank. I noticed the bank first, Treasury. The bank's been noticed. Now the bank is on the hook to audit. That's the law. That's their law. So it's there, people.
So you've heard it here. You heard it here first on the Porthole to Justice.
Yeah, when I saw it wasn't clerks, there's more than one clerk involved in this case. I've got a maritime lender under commerce that's a clerk, postal notary by conveyance, FedEx, and I've got the United States Post Office down here, who actually I went to. Remember, Clintonville has a Commonwealth with a corporate overlay of forced over. So we got 2 post offices in 5-6 blocks, folks. I went to the Commonwealth Post and I posted this out through their post notary. And guess what? It went by green card to the local main sorting center, which is less than 2 miles away, and sat there for 4 days, folks. 4 days. It hasn't been clerked as delivered by anybody but FedEx, even by green card. And I didn't ask for a signature. This is just confirmed delivery post from a postal notary under the umbrella of the United States Post Office and their franking capacity given to them by the de jure Congress. So if they're enjoined, they're in trouble too. That's international post fraud. Those are international notaries, folks. There's more than one clerk involved in the things that we can do as sovereigns. And I mean with inherent sovereignty. That our Constitution established.
Notary.
And that exactly. Postal notary, there's lots of, I'm a notary. I'm the executor of my estate. Only by my willfulness to let some corrupt group of bar union members manage it have I been allowed to allow such repugnant things to happen. That's the point. Our trustees are operating in fraud and allowing the trafficking of our babies. And I understand the principle in law has never been walked, but I just want everyone to know, after today, all bets are off. I will crush and crash the Fed and the entire banking structure with this cause of action if they don't fix the law and start abiding by statute. And it's on them. That's on them. I'm not going to allow fraud. I'm not going to allow bonds to be issued.
So Lotus, are you going to send them a reminder?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to give them a little bit more time. I'm going to see how long it takes for the other notarial clerk of the de jure Republic, Grant, and see how long it takes them to deliver the instruments to District of Columbia.
And I think, just like, a bill collector would, you can send them a reminder every 2 weeks. Because
absolutely. This is civil forfeiture rules. That's the whole point. They asked me when I went to this court, when they first let me in and entertain communication with us, which I applaud them for. They just need to cure their acts now, right? Mm-hmm. They could cure their acts without going to prison for treason. The clerks still on the hook for that, but the administrators of this bank could affirm the statute, which mandates them to turn this case into the Supreme Court. They're probably trying to figure out how to get out of it. Hey, go look at the Sixth Circuit, guys, where it talks about diversified claims. Okay, Clay's citizenship is diversified from your corporate international instrument of banking created under the Bankruptcy Acts. That are also frauds, by the way. But in any case, you have to follow the common law. You have to follow the federal common law. You got to bring your boys into commercial. They have to bring their own pillar into commercial compliance of the pillar they wrote. Mm-hmm. If you contract, if you operate in commerce under a Federal Reserve note system, you are subject to the laws of the United States. And that's what they don't want imposed upon their foreign international instruments of banking. Get it? They are operating all foreign banking. Yet people, I need to understand this. Every foreign banking nation instrument that is using the Federal Reserve note has agreed to be subject to the laws of the United States, which prohibits the transacting of children as an international commodity or instrument. Even canon laws do that, by the way, as far as birth certificates.
So I have to wrap it up, Lotus, because my battery is going to die. But I want to let everybody know that you can read this filing regarding the fiefdom. Yeah, the path to freedom from fraudulent fiefdom. Know the facts, know the law of how the corporate governance is not immune. You can read that on the Porthole to Justice blog on Facebook. It's also published to the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force and WO Freedom Fighters page. Both of those pages, you can go and read the document for yourself. Lotus, thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I just wanted to, they threw, clerk it, guys. Clerk it. Good idea.
All right.
I love you. Namaste, everybody. Keep up the good fight, but, it's getting there.
It's awesome.
We're going to get there.
Yeah, we need to do that OG thing soon, too. All right.
Yeah, we're getting there. One step. All right. Talk to you soon. Love you.
Okay. See you Saturday for Lunch with Lotus. All right, everybody. You can subscribe to my show for free on Spreaker.com. I was going to make one other announcement, and I forgot. I can't remember what it was now. Anyways, yeah, you can subscribe to the show for free on Spreaker.com. Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I just, as far as the publishing to the Porthole to Justice blog, I try to reserve that for topics that we discuss on the show, or guests that we have, or any related material to the guests that we have on the show. I do have other pages that you can join to publish your other groups that you can join to publish your content that you would like me to review for the show. You can go to the PTJ and Jam page on Facebook. That is the Porthole to Justice and the Judicial Accountability Movement. It's a page that I made with Brian Kenter of the Judicial Accountability Movement. So you can publish them there. You can also send me your content to portholetojustice@yahoo.com. I only prefer to interview cases that have either been reunited or are closed, because I just, I don't want to put anybody at risk for retaliation or publish any subject matter sensitive case file information to the blog. It's to protect everybody, all parties. So yeah, that's what that's about. So subscribe to the show. I'll be back for Saturday for sure with Lunch with Lotus. This has been another episode of Porthole to Justice off the cuff. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.